Hello everyone, I am Arnab Mishra and today I want to talk about the speech by one of the most important figures of India's freedom struggle, Bal Gangadhar Tilak. The speech is titled Freedom is My Birthright and was delivered in Nasik in May 1917. At first, the title itself tells us something very powerful. When Tilak says, Freedom is my birthright, he is not simply asking the British government to give Indian freedom. He is saying something much stronger. Freedom is something that naturally belongs to us. It is not a favor that a ruler gives to people. And this idea is at the heart of the entire speech. Tilak was speaking at a time when India was under British colonial rule. He wanted a home rule, which essentially means that Indians should have the right to govern their own country. He gives a very simple example to explain this. He asks, who does not know the meaning of home rule? Who does not want it? Then he asks us to imagine a situation where someone enters a house and takes control of our kitchen. Naturally, we would object. Why? Because it is our house and we have the right to manage our own affairs. Tilak applies exactly the same logic to India. He is basically saying if an individual has the right to manage his own home, why should an entire nation not have the right to manage its own country? This makes his argument very easy to understand. One of the major arguments against Indian self-government was that Indians were supposedly not ready or not capable of governing themselves. Tilak strongly rejects this argument. He says that the British had ruled India for about a century, yet Indians were still being told that they were not fit for home rule. His response is essentially if British rule has not made us ready, then we will make ourselves ready. This is a very important point. Tilak is saying that a nation does not become capable of self government by waiting for someone else to declare it ready. People develop political responsibility by actually participating in political life. So instead of waiting for permission, Indians must take responsibility for their own future. Another important idea in the speech is that freedom is not merely a political demand. For Tilak, it is also a moral issue. He divides the science of politics in two different parts. One is what he calls the divine, and other is demonic. The divine side represents politics that promote justice, freedom, and welfare of the people. The demonic side represents slavery and oppression. Therefore, Tilak argues that there can be no moral justification for keeping an entire nation in slavery. In simple words, a government cannot claim to be morally right while denying an entire people their basic freedom. This makes Tilak's argument much bigger than just India should have home rule. He is arguing about justice, dignity, and human freedom. Tilak also makes an interesting connection between religion and politics. He says that religious and political teachings may appear separate, but they are actually connected. Why? Because both are concerned with questions of right and wrong, duty and responsibility. For Tilak, politics is not simply about gaining power. Politics should be guided by moral principles. So, if political rule produces slavery and oppression, people have a moral responsibility to challenge it. This is why Tilak describes the political struggle for freedom almost like a moral duty. One of the most interesting parts of the speech is Tilak's discussion about illiteracy. Some people argued that India could not have Swaraj because a large part of population was illiterate. Tilak rejected it completely. He makes an important distinction. Being illiterate does not mean being unintelligent. A person may not know how to read and write, but that doesn't mean that person cannot understand their own interests, their problem or their rights. Tilak says that even an illiterate person can understand the basic principle of Swaraj if they understand their immediate concerns. This is a powerful democratic idea. It means that political participation should not be restricted only to educated people. Ordinary people are also citizens and their interest matters. Tilak therefore says that it is a duty to awaken the masses. This means that freedom cannot be achieved only by a small group of educated leaders. The wider population must become politically aware. People need to understand their rights, their responsibilities, the meaning of Swaraj, and why freedom matters. This is where Tilak's speech becomes particularly relevant today. A democracy does not work simply because election exists. It requires politically aware and active citizens. Towards the end, Tilak says the circumstances are favorable and that the voice of the time is now or never. He tells people not to turn back. He wants Indians to move forward confidently and continue their constitutional and political struggle. This shows his sense of urgency. For Tilak, freedom should not remain an abstract dream. It required action. So what can we take away from Tilak's speech? I think there are three major ideas. First, freedom is not a favor given by a ruler. It is a fundamental right. Second, people should not be denied political participation simply because they are considered uneducated or unprepared. And third, political freedom requires people to become aware of their rights and actively shaping their society. What makes Tilak's speech powerful is that he takes complicated political idea, self-government, and explains it through something everyone understands, their own home. If someone cannot take control of their own home, they are not truly free. And if a nation cannot manage its own affairs, it cannot truly call itself a nation. This is why the statement, freedom is my birthright, becomes so powerful. It transforms the freedom from something that people wait for into something that people claim as their right. Thank you. See you in the next video.